Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Science Student Career Guide. We are very excited to have all of you here to explore the topic of career pathways in food science. Research students are the new workforce that will help visionary entrepreneurs shape the future of food, and they need insightful information in order to successfully advance to their next career move in food science, and also being part of the way that the future of food is being shaped. Here today, you might be asking yourself if this is an event, what this is about. And I'm here to tell you that we are not an event, but we are here to offer guidance to you towards information you need to have the best path into career in food science. Maybe you are curious to know what your food science career options are, or you have asked yourself previously what career pathway might fit best to you. Maybe it is a corporation, maybe a startup, or starting something on your own, maybe having your own business. If your answer to any of these questions, if you have thought about this before, this is the perfect place for you. The ProteinX Career Guide is an invitation only, hand-picked small group of the best in class students and faculty gathered here to learn about expectations of the novel food science workforce. Okay, so now please help me welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Joy, and Lavitor, our CEO, who is going to share, who's going to lead this interview right now. So Dr. Joy, as we said before, is the Director of New Product Development at Clara Foods, and Lavitor Matzenbacher is Chief Operating Officer at ProteinX Foundation. Dr. Jai, thank you for taking the time. Lavitor, thank you for being here today with us. So Lavitor, please take it from here.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning from Silicon Valley to everyone, wherever you are. Dr. Joy, always a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for being with us today in such an inspiring section. Today, we hope to answer to some questions of those who are looking forward to joining innovative, purposeful initiatives in food science. So what I propose to you is that why don't we kick things off by talking about a topic of growing importance in the workplace, culture. You know, you are ahead of new product development in one of the most innovative companies here in Silicon Valley. How would you describe some of the core elements of your culture, such as values, mission, vision? I mean, we are always looking for like-minded people, people who share a common vision to begin with. And then we move on to technical skills, background, and everything else. But first and foremost, culture comes as a topic that is critical to the success of any initiative. What could you share about Clara Foods with our audience?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. First, I absolutely agree that culture fit is very, very important. Culture fit, in other words, is the beliefs and the behaviors of people in the company. So in a way, it determines what kind of goal the company can achieve and the approach is how they're going to achieve it. And also, if you look at the current game-changing innovators, entrepreneurs, the culture fit also reflects the way they are seeing the world, how they identify the opportunities, challenges, and how do they respond to that. So for job seekers, also very, very important because this is a two-way street. So the company wants to make sure the employees are a good culture fit. And also for job seekers, candidates, you want to make sure the company's culture, value, mission all are aligned with yours. So I absolutely agree that's something important we need to keep an eye on. And in terms of the culture at Clara Foods, actually, I'm also excited to share the news that Clara today becomes the every company, as you might have seen in some social media. So Clara, or the every company, our mission is really to, like Lavitor you just introduced, we are committed to accelerate the transition to animal-free proteins for food applications So to provide healthier, greener, and cruelty-free proteins. So that's our mission. It's the whole Clara family is excited about our mission, and we're all committed. In terms of value, I say we have values at 3 different levels. First, at individual level, we really encourage curiosity and tenacity. So, and our employees are encouraged to explore. So we have like a different time and resource allocation. For example, in my team, the new product development team, you can spend this much time. So that the ratio can change depending on the priorities. So work on the goals, department goals, or something assigned to you. And you also have some time to explore your own interests, of course, related to alternative proteins. So we really cherish curiosity and tenacity. So we don't give up. Give up is not an option. And so at the team level, then we encourage trust and teamwork. So that's our value at the team level. And also I say at the bigger level or higher level, the corporate, the company level, it's the inclusivity and balance. So inclusivity means nobody's left behind. We have good transparency, everything's shared. A balance means a good work-life balance. We don't want anyone to burn out. It's also, in a way, sustainability for our human resource.
Well,
So,
while I agree with every word you said, I always find it very challenging to find like-minded people, and people that are not only thinking in the way you are, but also are willing to bring something else, to add on to your culture, to enhance the work environment, to create that meaningful space where the mindset is oriented towards discovery, to thinking of something that nobody else thought about. How do you find these people? What is the process that Clara Foods implements? I mean, could you describe, just for people that are curious and intrigued with your mission and vision, for them to have an idea of the process of searching for the right person to join the team?
absolutely. So, again, these are at different levels. One is the culture fit. I believe most companies will either do it informally or formally screen the candidates for that. And then when it comes to the technical skill set, for me, particularly my team, I find the candidates with a good balance of the theory, science, and the practice side. So hands-on experience. That's a very important balance to me. I find those candidates very, very demanded. So when I say the science theory, that's basically what guide us through our experiment design, our practice, our lab work. We need something there to guide us through, because we just cannot afford trial and error approach. Clara, as a startup, we are tight and we are nimble. That means we don't have a lot of resource to go on trial and error. I mean, if you have to run 300 experiments a day, that's just not practical. So we definitely want somebody to be equipped with science, the knowledge, the theory part. That doesn't mean we don't go to the lab and try things. So that's another balance. We want somebody to be both a good planner and somebody who is not afraid or hesitate to get their hands wet, dirty in the lab. So planning can always help improve the efficiency, productivity. But too much of planning, that can become a problem. So if you're always planning and then hesitate to go to the lab and try things, I see that's a sign that, or a flag, means, because most of the learning, while you can take the learning during the reading, but most of the learning is really obtained from the hands-on work. So when you're in your lab and you do something, you learn something that you would have otherwise never learned from reading. And another one is, I say, technical strength, the balance of technical strength and business acumen. So particularly my group, we kind of liaise with the commercial side and the technology side and the manufacturing side. So we want people both with the science mindset and also some business acumen. And we understand, especially for fresh graduate, that's not something that you get right away, but at least you remain open-minded, you're curious to learn. That's big potential we see.
So you use the word that I believe is very important, balance. I also like the word harmony. So where things kind of put together a compelling package, a value proposition that is complete. So sometimes people focus in one specific area, to develop like their technical skills, or too much on the other side that is more inspirational, such as culture. But in reality, we need everything. We need everything in place to generate a contribution that will push plans forward. In terms of being a highly innovative company, what would you call the attention of our audience in terms of separating, not really separating, but drawing a difference between traditional companies that have been established over 50, 100 years, and highly innovative companies that are shaping the future of food. So there's a difference there. Sometimes we think that continuous improvement is innovation, but actually you're not doing something that is continuous improvement. You are doing something that is transformative, something that is highly innovative and has to be sustainable. So there are tremendous challenges in doing that. So when people arrive for an interview, or they submit a resume, or they interact, with you, what would you say that is different from going to a company that has been around for 100 years?
You said it. I mean, that's exactly the situation. This is a game-changing time, and I would call it a food revolution. We are changing the ways we develop food. So I did see some of the confusion from a previous communication with some job seekers, especially for food scientists, because that's what I can speak of. My team is a group of food scientists. So this food revolution, even though it is occurring in the food industry, but you see it's really driven by biotech. That's why some food scientists, they want to be part of it, but they don't know how they can contribute. So I think this might be a good opportunity to clear out of some of the confusion. The way I see it is, yes, it's driven by biotechnology, so fermentation, cell culture, whatever you name it. However, like I said, this revolution is about food. And to me, food scientists are the gatekeepers. You could have all the fancy tools and the technology, but eventually it's going to food applications. So there's a huge role food scientists can play. It depends on your potential and your interest. If we talk about personality type or strength identification, I remember there were different ways to group that. And some people could be innovator, some people could be promoter, some could be good maintainer. So that can group you in potentially different groups. If you're innovator type, the new product development team or function, this is the team I'm leading. We really welcome and need that kind of people with that mindset, because when the biotechnology people or the R&D in this kind of startup company, like you said, it's very different from traditional food industry. So the R&D in this new alternative protein space or other startup is really the biotechnology side. There's little a food scientist can do. Well, if you're interested, you want to learn, of course, that doesn't mean you cannot be exposed. However, that protein is a protein, a molecule. How do we shape it into a food ingredient ready for use by food manufacturers that goes to either food services or retail? We still need to develop the protein into an ingredient. So we need to validate how it works. We need to identify the gap, and we need to close the gap, fill the gap by other means, either through formulation or processing. And we need to work with customers and our commercial internal stakeholders to make sure we're ready for launch, make sure the ingredient is fully validated. So this is where food scientists can come to play. Check how the protein works. in applications. If it doesn't work, how can we make it work? Then if you are, say, maintainer type, we also need that kind of talent. For example, in quality assurance group, they need people to be gatekeeper on the quality. So you want to make sure everything is compliant to quality. So they need maintainer, people who likes to run some routine analysis, make sure everything is in spec. And if you're a promoter, you're a good storyteller, then something customer facing or working with investors, that's very good potential role for you. So it's definitely a lot of roles that food scientists can play. Even manufacturing, you can you like going to the plant and see how things are happening there. Well, back to your question, there's a huge difference between the startup, these technology-driven companies, and the traditional food companies. What I call is our R&D is actually not equivalent to the R&D in traditional companies. Our R&D is more like the upstream biotech, and their R&D in traditional food companies is more like our product development. So we develop it into food ingredient. That's the R&D in traditional food companies. So I say, I'm not saying one is better than the other. It just see what your interest is. If you're more interested in innovation, cutting edge innovation technology, startup is definitely very attractive.
This is so fascinating. And I have no doubts that we are living through fascinating times, and there's so much to happen still. So if I put myself in the shoes of those students that are either undergrad or getting into grad programs like their masters or PhDs, this is an amazing time to be where they are right now. What could academia do to help this scientists? And we need scientists more than ever. So what do you believe, that academia could do facing this new challenge that we have right now, to innovate, to think of things that nobody else ever thought about, in light of environmental issues, animal welfare, and other pressuring issues that are affecting the lives of people around the world? What do you believe that could be done on in universities and solid food science programs to help the scientists hit the ground running when they join a company like yours?
Yeah, absolutely. The academia is also very important. And if you look at this, some of the startup companies, a lot of them, the technology actually originated in universities from research. So started there, the science started there, and then it's really through technology transfer. And then some of the university programs, they will even develop the technology part, not just the science. So it depends on the type of company. And then that technology is taken by the company in the industry, private sectors, and they will validate it and they work on scale up, because making a few milligrams is definitely different from making a ton of the product. So scale up, then usually that's by the industry. And then commercialization, working with customer marketing. So that's all done by the industry. But the technology, the science originated, a lot of them originated, not all, but a lot of them from universities. So that's the initial stage of the business. But even after, still the academia plays an important role. Many companies, Clara does it too. I believe many startup companies have this ongoing academia partnership. That's a program that we really value. So we constantly seek partnership with the university research groups, and see how we can utilize each other's strength. So they are strong in research technology, and we are strong in industrialization, commercialization. And also there are things that, yes, we might be able to do as a company. We have good scientists, technologists, yes. But how do we best spend the resource? So we have prioritization. So certain projects we would rather prefer to outsource or go through a partnership with academia. So it's never disconnected, academia and the industry.
I think this is so important because academia is such an environment for growth, for innovating, for thinking of something that nobody ever thought about. You're free basically to do whatever you want, and you should definitely try it. Thinking about what we should and shouldn't do, from previous interactions with scientists, anything you could share in practical terms of things that you've seen that you liked and other things that you didn't like so much. Like sometimes, people do things or they show up and behave in a way that you wish they did something different or they knew more about something. I don't know, anything you could share with the audience in terms of their preparation for future um, interviews or anything in their job seeking journey.
Sure. So really the process, the job hunting, seeking, or interview is really for the purpose of mutual fit. So you want to see if the company, the culture fits yours, all yours, I mean, is aligned with theirs. It's like not only the company is looking for talent, you are looking for a good employer, employer is also looking for good talent. So it's two-way. And in terms of some preparational things to avoid, from my personal experience, I have seen, I briefly touched a little bit earlier, that trial and error approach. I have heard several times from candidates who were kind of proud of them once being very hardworking. The examples they gave is one day I had run 300 experiments. So my question is, why do you have around 300 experiments? Like if you have some science guided, rather than just a random guess, you wouldn't need to do that. So it's an example. We can't go to extreme that you should never run 300 experiments. That's not the point I'm trying to make. It's just that we appreciate this science-guided approach rather than trial and error. So it depends on type of the role. I mean, for the new product development role, I do see that as a flag. I feel like you could do better planning, screening before jumping into something like that. And also, something I have seen, the other extreme would be people who, it comes back to the balance of lab work and planning, people who prefer all hands-on, spend 100% time in the lab. And I would prefer that you take some time, do some thinking after the experiment, and sit down and see what worked, what have not worked. And so some learning. And also the other extreme would be, yeah, I want to have a perfect 100% plan. I'm a good planner. I will not execute anything until I feel confident about my plan. That could be a potential flag as well. Another one major thing, we always ask that one question. I believe in many startup interviews would ask the same question, is how adaptable you are and how do you deal with changes, because that's one of the main difference between well-established companies and startups. Startups are faced with changes almost every day, constant reprioritization. And even though that's not ideal, but we admit that's just at the initial stage of your startup business. That's something that's hard to avoid. So we really appreciate people who understand that and can adapt to changes and deal with that. That's a big deal, I say, to many startup and employers. Those are the things I can think of, and a lot of them are really related to MPD. There are other functional teams may have different requirements, but I cannot speak too much of them. So this is really for the MPD and food scientist type of role.
I love the way you put it in terms of like giving insights that are science oriented. Sometimes we focus on basic things like turn your camera on, smile, and something like that. But the insights, I hope everybody's listening, and I'm glad we also are going to. This is a very curated environment where we invited a few people, but we are also going to share this with our curated network. So I'm glad that you focus on like key aspects that are science oriented on top of everything else they could do to enhance their first impression, which is always important to cause. I see Anna in the screen. Do we have any questions from the audience by any chance, Anna? Or can I just keep going?
Yeah, so we have a question from the audience. And again, if you from the audience want to share any questions, again, right side of your screen. But if you want to come on stage, come on screen and talk directly, just raise your hand and we can call you on stage. So our first question is from Catherine. So she's asking, what do you think the role will be moving forward for nutrition professionals in the alternative protein space?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the type of the company and also the stage. To me, my understanding, the way I see it, is the early stage of the company in the alternative protein space. Most of that nutritional aspect of a new product comes from the partnership with either academia or some other institutes. So usually they would have that concept first before they go and they start up a company. So they already have some understanding, and that came from their academia partnership. But as the company develops and goes to, I don't know, a later stage, they would want to have their own. So get to certain size, I say, then they want to do their own nutritional research. I know some very well-established companies, of course, that they were always had it. They have a nutritional department looking at the ingredient, the nutritional aspects of it. Some hot area like a human microbiome, for example, a lot of companies are into that. And alternative protein is another thing. We're talking about the PDCAS, protein value. So if it's early stage of a company, they might outsource that, honestly speaking. And later stage, you will see they have that demand. So I say you might want to focus on this company's not at the very beginning of the business.
That's good. Thank you for answering. So if anyone else has any questions, again, write or just raise your hand and we can call here. But for now, that was the question we had on the chat. Lav, do you have any other questions with you?
While we wait another possible question, because I do see that the time is approaching our limit, is there anything in terms of a takeaway that would you share with the audience when considering joining a very innovative company in food space? I mean, sometimes people they want to align with culture, they want to prepare in terms of technical skills, but beyond that, it's a decision that is going to impact their lives, you know. So how do they prepare for that? Because sometimes when you arrive in, I've done that a few times, like because I had no experience. So I was aligned with the culture. I had the technical background necessary, but then when I arrived, it was highly demanding. It was innovative. There was a lot of pressure. In reality, I did not enjoy, although I was aligned with the culture and I had the technical skills. So spend at least 8 to 10, sometimes 12 or more hours with a coworker or in environment. You know, what would be a takeaway message for those who prepare to do that? You know, beyond aligning in terms of culture, technical skills, when they have when they achieve that moment where they have to make such an important choice and it's going to be part of their life, what would you um, advise them in terms of preparing for that?
Sure, that's a very good question, and I believe that the job seekers ask themselves all the time. I definitely did when I was at the beginning of my career. So I say this is a suggestion from my own experience. What you do is you list the pros and cons of big companies, well-established big companies, versus startup, technology-driven, innovation-driven startups. So list the pros and cons and see which ones that are aligned with yours. For example, big companies, well-structured, startup, less structured, but will you be bothered with lack of structure? And that lack of structure usually is temporary. As the startup learns and grows, that usually gets better. Some people like the flexibility, less structure, so they can learn different things, be exposed to different things. While some people like structure, I want to do this. I want to be an expert in this one area. So then maybe you like to have some structure and nothing to distract you. So you can focus on your role. While at a startup, you might not be able to. You might be stretched out of your role and wearing different hats, but some people might enjoy that. So it's your personality type. And another one is change. So big companies, they resist changes. Startups, like I said, changes all the time. Some people might find it too many. So then you also need to find out, oh, do I like changes? Or I really don't like to deal with changes. So it's really your personality type. And nimble, that's also tied to structure. So we know startups are more nimble. Decision-making process is much faster, easier, while the big companies, they're careful and they put a lot in the risk management. They tend not to take much risk. So are you a risk taker? You like fast decision making, or you like to have reviews, make sure we are managing the risk properly? And those are non-technical level, really, is the personality. And then, of course, when it comes to technical, like you really want to go deep, you want to understand things at molecular level, or you would rather focus on application. I may not know the product in and out, but I know how to use it. So that's different type of roles. So I say the best thing you could do is list as many pros and cons as possible and find out where you are, what's important to you, what's nice to have, what's must have. And also, like I said, that depends on your personality. Also depends on the stage of your life. Are you at a stage that you would like to take some risk and like to have some uncertainties? You'll find that exciting. Or you're at a stage like, no, I want to settle. I want to just no surprise, something like that. Also, you want to take into consideration. So I cannot cover all the pros and cons and the things you can talk to family, friends, your networking, or you can even Google. Just list that out and then find the best that's suitable for you.
Google is always a good resource.
Sure, yes.
Very insightful. Thank you. I hope everybody's taking advantage of this amazing insightful interview. Anna, how are we doing with questions from the audience? Anything else by any chance?
Yeah, so we have some new questions. Let me share another one. So here, do you think the development of novel products are affected more by breakthrough in scientific areas or consumers' perspective?
This is a very interesting question. It sort of gives me the opportunity to introduce how NPD works, not just NPD in Clara Foods, NPD in general, new product development. So usually when it comes to new product development, there are two types of projects, One type of project is market-driven. So usually we respond to requests from internal stakeholders from the commercial side, marketing, sales. They will come to food scientists and say, there's this market demand we identified, the customers are interested, consumers are interested. Can you look into the technical feasibility? Can we develop such a product? So then in that case is really driven by market, consumers, customers. But we as a team, we also can initiate our own project. The food scientists can initiate our own. So those will be technology-driven projects. We find an exciting technology. We think we can develop an exciting product. Let's do it, do the technical feasibility study. And with some preliminary data or information or proof of concept, we'll go to the marketing, the commercial team, and saying, we have this amazing idea, concept. Can you guys look into the market fit? Do some market assessment or consumer survey, see if there's any market at all. So those two directions, And sometimes the technology-driven projects end up getting the feedback saying, well, there's no market. Then there are different ways you can go around. That one is, okay, there's no market, we are too early, let's drop it and prioritize, focus on other projects. The other one is you might ask the question, okay, there's currently no market. Can we generate the market? People, consumers don't know anything about it. Can we educate them? Take that Impossible Foods, everybody know that. I mean, I doubt they started from a market, say, oh, there's a huge market. When they started, actually the vegetarian meat, alternative meat was still a very minor category, but they educated the consumer. They created the market. And now the plant-based food is big. Just an example, it's really a collective effort for the alternative protein space. Each company really contributed, but in a way, we are creating a market. This is something you look 10 or 20 years ago, there was no market there, but we generated it. So when it comes to market, you can either say, okay, oh, well, wait, we're not ready, or let's create a market. So there are different ways to look at it. And then that's really, that it's determined by a company strategy at a high level. What does the top management see? How do they see that? How do they strategize that?
Both ways are very intriguing and fascinating. Anna, do we have another question?
Yeah, so we have our last question now.
Okay.
So what advice would you share with talent? Oh, sorry, the question isn't here anymore, but it's asking what advice would you share with talent that how they can stand out when they are going through a selection process? Do they need to share evidence of what they worked on another thing that they need to share that made them stand out through the eyes of someone that's looking for a food scientist to hire?
Sure. I say, in terms of the technical skill set, it's not something that you can prepare during the interview. Really, it's the years of practice, experience. That's so I'm not going to comment on that side. While you are equipped with very technical strength, skill set, and how do you want to stand out from other candidates? One thing we look at is passion. Really, you can tell this candidate is just looking for a job. He or she just needs a job, or he or she is very passionate about what we do, about the company mission. The interviewers can definitely tell. So I say, but then, yeah, that comes also to personality. Some people tend to be more talkative and some are less. However, the interviewer can still tell if you have passion or not. The other thing is, do you know the company? That's very, very important. I've seen candidates coming to the interview not knowing what Clara Foods does. So to me, that's a flag. And how do I find out the person doesn't know? I found that in the experience, work experience, the person actually worked on egg protein before. However, the candidate didn't highlight that experience. To me, that's something you really want to highlight, right? It's high relevance. So when I asked, then the candidate would say, oh yeah, I worked on that. I said that then that's really good. It would be helpful to Clara Foods. Then the candidate asked, oh, you guys do egg protein as well? So that to me is an indicator that they didn't do homework, what Clara Foods do. So one thing, you really want to do homework, what the employer does, what's the business and their technology, their core technology, understand what they do, what they sell. And then don't hide your passion. Those are the things that I would highly suggest and recommend. The technical side, really, like I said, that takes years of practice experience, so nothing I could really comment, but two things you can control, you can do better as a candidate.
Outstanding. Anna, that the last question? Or
Yes, that was our last question. But thank you, Dr. Joy. It was amazing to understand, how the food scientists are the new workforce, as you said at the beginning, and the directions that they are going right now. So thank you for taking the time for sharing insights. And now we are going to our next session with Tommaso, who is going to present how we can help food scientists and how we at ProteinX are supporting everyone. And now, if you have asked yourself what career pathway is the best for you, our president, Tommaso Di Bartolo, is going to share how ProteinX can support you and guide you through where you want to go and what direction you want to take into food science. So, Tommaso, thank you for taking the time. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Anna. And welcome everybody to the career guide in October 2021. The emphasis is really here on guidance on career. So food scientists are needed now more than ever. Question is, how can you make an impactful contribution? What are the pathways? What startup, eventually corporation, or what project can you develop on your own in order to reduce the carbon footprint and make an impact on the world? This is exactly the reason why we here at ProteinX are doing the career guide. And now I would like to present you a couple of slides on how ProteinX is supporting the initiative of providing guidance. I would like, first of all, to thank the presence of Clara Foods and Joy, and share insights and backstage insights, right, about what matters when you are applying, what line of reasoning do you need to pay attention to when you would like to join such, or when you're considering joining such a leading novel startup in the alternative protein space. And thanks also so much to our COO and my business partner, Victor, for the interviews. Was definitely very insightful. But enough about introduction here, right? ProteinX, how are we supporting this process? How are we supporting you as a PhD, as a researcher, as eventually a student, right? On getting a guidance on what your career options are in food science, right? And as I was mentioning, and we heard it several times, yes, there are several options that can be considered. Either you are considering to take your research and or together with a team member of yours and bringing to life, right? Eventually raising funds or grants and making it real. That's what we call the entrepreneurial route. Or you're eventually considering to apply and go in direction of corporation, right? You would like to work with a major established brand in the industry of food, beverage, right? Or maybe you have also under the mentality of employment a perspective of, I would like to join a more novel startup, right? With here Clara Foods, right? Now called the Every Company, right? That is going to offer you a different environment as a food scientist or a talent in food science, right? And this is where we come into place. This is how we can also be of your help. We are a Silicon Valley based nonprofit. We are a 501c3 foundation, meaning nonprofit, right? We are mission oriented, and our mission is really to foster the discovery of next gen proteins, new ingredients, and sustainable package. Question is, well, Tommaso, how are you guys doing it? Well, we do it in collaboration with the industry. Specifically, we are partnering with some of the global most renowned educational institute in the area of food and beverage, novel food and beverage, right? Where we, as a nonprofit foundation, the ProteinX Nonprofit Foundation, we are a free resource, a partner, a free business partner, right? For those academic and institution focused on agriculture, food, and beverage, and where we offer them entrepreneurial programs for those who might be interested in going in direction the entrepreneurial pathway, right? Which comes as an entrepreneurial program joined and in conjunction with grants or access to capital. That's one pathway that I also briefly mentioned in a couple of slides in the previous slide. Or what we also do is beyond the guidance as offered as of today, we have the career fairs, right? Career opportunities, right? So for you to get access to a very curated and handpicked jobs, or you want to write your thesis, write your master thesis, or you're looking for something that is freelancer. In any case, being part of something that is meaningful and aligned with a career within food science. That's basically what we do. So we see ourselves in short as the link, ProteinX, the link between academia and primarily academia in food science and the food industry, right? And today we are going in this couple of slides here. I would like, under the umbrella and under the mission of providing a guidance in a career as a non-profit foundation, I would like to focus on, obviously, on the career pillar that we offer to the talents in food science or to academic institution, which are the career fair and the academia lab, right? You see here actually also in gray on the left upper side Intel, and on the right upper side entrepreneurship. These are the three actually pillars together with career that we as a nonprofit foundation are offering to the market. Just real quick to have it heard, and please feel free to check out our website, which is pretty comprehensive and complete. On the left side, Intel, we are providing together with some of the best brains on earth, from professors, entrepreneurs, advisors, mentors, executives, chefs. We have provided a curated approach towards content, in form of podcast, in form of video and episodes, in form of articles. So depending on your gusto, on how you want to digest information, take a look at the Intel part. On the right side, the entrepreneurship, again, by having acceleration programs for early stage startups or all early stage projects that are considering to get guidance, mentoring guidance, to get access to funds, to get access to early startups. We are offering the entrepreneurship. But today, career, right? So we as a ProteinX Foundation, we have career fairs. And actually we have every quarter career fairs. We just most recently had our career fair, Q3 career fair. And actually without explain, let me go back here let me see here if I can activate here the video. Yes, let me show you here a short sneak preview on how the career fair looks like.
The sustainability issues get worse. I really wanted to make a transition and work more towards building a company that can actually have a major impact.
A deep passion and a deep awareness on how we treat animals and what are the problems associated with animal agriculture as a whole.
You know, all around us, this revolution was happening: plant-based protein, sustainable food sources.
If we're doing great things, we can attract great people. As we attract great people, we can do great things, and that's it.
So the career fair, right? Today we have a guide, right? But the career fair is where we gather some of the most intriguing brands on the market. In our most recent one, we had our partner Just Eat. We had Clara Food. We had Gourmet. We had Turtle Tree, and a couple others that joined us and shared their cultural perspectives on how relevant it is and what makes it relevant when you are seeking as a talent in food science to apply and get a job at those companies. So we get insights from the audience directly. It's 3.5 hours of a collective networking. And speaking of networking, we had roughly 250 attendees. And the beauty of what we care a lot is really to create value creation. We define value by you meeting the right people and learning from the right people. In fact, we had over 125 to be precisely, meetings scheduled between the industry participated and the talents. And when I say talents in food science, there are a bunch of specific job angles and job titles and roles that those companies are looking for, right? Looking for. And we really have a nice mix from even students, undergrad students, grad PhDs, or also senior, up until senior PhDs that are going back to universities in order to do their research, right? And you have the opportunity at our career fair. Again, it's about guidance, right? Use the career fair to build your relationship, right? To ask your questions, to get insights firsthand from some of the best and some leading partners on the market. So for those out there that say, well, Tommaso, this sounds actually intriguing, but I missed out on our Q3, on the ProteinX Q3 career fair. I'm interested to join the next one. Please feel free to do so. We have here a bit.ly link, bit.ly/px, which is the abbreviation for ProteinX Q4 career fair. This is the link which leads you then to the sign up for all our academic partners, existing partners, and their faculty, their students, and their staff. You will be provided free access. As I was mentioning before, we are a nonprofit and a free resource to our academic partners. For those that are not partnering yet with us, you will be seeing there an email. Please reach out to us. I'm more than happy to kick off the partnership. But now, in the last slide, I would actually respond to the next question. Well, Tommaso, it's nice that we are learning about insights on how to apply, on what to emphasize during an interview, on what the industry is actually requiring when we apply. But the question here actually is, how can food science students or PhDs or researchers stand out when looking for a science job opportunity between hundreds of other applicants? And well, again, as a nonprofit foundation, that's what we do. We hear what your questions are, and then we ask our partners. And that's what we did. We asked our partners and what the key expectation are towards food and food scientists, right, in order to stand out. And throughout all responses, right, we heard one key sentence: evidence. I want to pause a second. I want to see evidences. For you to stand out, they don't just want to get a CV. They want to get evidences that you have initial experiences in the lab, that you have worked on experiments, and they want to have evidences that you are capable mentally, from an innovation perspective, to embark on learnings that are treating novel subjects. The question is, well, okay, now that I know that, how are we going to do that? How do we bring the evidences to shine? Again, as a nonprofit foundation, we created the ProteinX Academia Lab, which provides scientifically meaningful and potentially transformative innovation and education projects in plant-based proteins, in new ingredients and sustainable package, a venue for students, researchers, PhDs, and scientists to present. I want to emphasize the verb to present their learnings and plug in therefore into resources. Wow, this sounds maybe interesting, Tommaso. Can I see more? Yes, let me show you here our most recent academia lab.
So now we have our academia lab. Have you ever thought of how universities and students doing research are so important for new initiatives, and now especially on alternative protein? And our host today is Nick Johnson from UC Davis.
And we have a team from UC Davis who's going to present more in the cultivated meat space.
I'm Patrick, and this is my lab partner, Justin. We're both PhD students in the McDonald-Mandy lab, and we're going to be talking about cultured meat research in our lab, taking a biopsy of stem cells from an animal and having those cells proliferate in a bioreactor, and furthermore, inducing differentiation of those cells into mostly fat and muscle cells to replicate the meat product.
That I will talk about is the production of gelatin and rice cells to be used in microcarrier production. As a quick overview, muscle cells, which are the most abundant cell type in many types of meat, are inherent by nature and require a surface to proliferate on.
The ProteinX Foundation helps you, researchers, PhDs, and scientists, to create this evidence, to create a platform, a window to the industry in order to stand out. Question is, do you want to stand out? How badly do you want to stand out? Well, we have to go beyond because there is a competition out there. We partner with the UC Berkeley, UC Davis, Cornell Institute, Howard, Penn State, Nebraska, Wageningen, TU Munich, and many others. For those that I have not mentioned, apologize. For those who are not partnering with us as an institute, please reach out again with the mission to support and help you, dear students, dear researcher, dear PhD, to create this venue and this evidence-based work in order for then us as a ProteinX Foundation have a curated set of evidences, lab-based evidence, scientifically evidences that are easy to digest for a company that is looking for talents, right? That's what we see, where we see ourselves, where we say, well, we add value to the industry, right? Now, when we present the academia lab, right, the best feedback is always the feedback from the PhDs and researchers themselves after they participated. I would like here to share a direct feedback of one of the participants in our academia lab. So it maybe help you respond to some of the questions that are going through your mind now. But what if, Tommaso, and what does it exactly mean? And do I have enough of my research that I can present? Introducing here or presenting a feedback directly.
Hi, I'm Wong from UC Berkeley, and I participated in the ProteinX Academia Lab. Initially, I was a little tentative on joining simply because at the UC Berkeley Alt Meat Lab, my team first worked on consumer psychology of alternative proteins before talking about the food science of current ingredients in plant-based meat. But having this outlet to talk about all of the factors in the alternative meat industry was actually really rewarding. So I joined not only because of the warm invite from the ProteinX founders, but also because the Academia Lab became a perfect way to just talk about all of the work you've done in an excited fashion without the end goal being for investors or VCs. It was really wholesome and welcoming and just an amazing open space. And the people there were pretty cool. The moderator for my panel, Nick Johnson, hosts the Rethink podcast, which talks about alternative meats. And afterwards, I've started listening to this podcast more often.
I love the fact of what was emphasized in terms of the perfect venue, right? So it is transparent feedback from participant of the Academia Lab. Perfect venue for what? Well, again, to have a platform, to have a venue for you to show evidences. Why evidences? Because this is what the market is saying. We would like to see evidences, right? As a nonprofit foundation, as the bridge between academia and the industry, this is what we do. This is what we see. Well, we have also a series of questions, usually when presenting and talking about the Academia Lab. Some of the FAQs I would like already to take ahead of any possible questions that you, by the way, are now incentivized to post on the right side. So whatever question we can answer you, please feel free to start posting here. I would like to answer some of your concerns, doubts, but some of the, let's say, while we are collecting here throughout all the channels and also here in our Air Meet Some questions, here are some of the FAQs that we hear over and over again. Let me actually start sharing again my screen. 3, 2, 1, just a second, please. So I will be here having a audience window on Canva. You have an audience window, and then you have a presenter window. I say got it, and then I go under share your screen, and this should be the audience window. Back we are, but sharing the screen. Is this a startup pitch? This is really FAQ number 1. Is this a startup pitch? Well, this is not a startup pitch. Very simple. Why? First of all, there is no startup. Huh? Yes. This is for the academia and the researchers and the PhDs to present researches, right? To the market, to the potential future employers, right? And the learnings of that. On the other hand, there is also no judge or no mentorship, right? That's the reason why this is not a startup pitch. One of the second most common frequent asked question are, do I need to reveal IP related insight? Well, no IP details are required at all in preparation, actually, of the presentation, not the pitch, the presentation, right? Our team, the ProteinX Foundation, guides you on how to present, right, in order for you to have a great impact, right? And you receive resources such as templates, as well as guidance and best practices, again, without you revealing the IP, but putting at the center of your presentation the learnings that you have as a researcher so far. Frequent asked question number 3. Who will be seeing this? And this is maybe one of the most relevant things for you to consider. The ProteinX Foundation, we curate an invite-only network of industry players, government, agencies, investors, chefs, you name it, focused on the food, novel food, sustainable packaging, new ingredients industry, right? And all with the same mission towards a sustainable food chain. In it, if we quantify it, we have roughly nowadays a reach into 15,000, okay, corporations and startups around the globe, roughly 70% in United States, 25% in Europe, Latin America, with a big emphasis on Brazil as a gigantic market, picking up more and more Asia Pacific regions, right? This is our reach. These are our partners that are seeking best talents around the world. Without mentioning a brand, just yesterday, we had one conversation where a new partner mentioned that they have 30% of their hires are from outside United States. So they're looking really for talent on a global scale. So if you are a business partner also not based in United States and you are seeking to get access to some of the best or renowned brands in novel food, there are many partners that have understood the importance of hiring also abroad. And last but not least, how to qualify, and then I'll open for questions. How to qualify, Tommaso, for the academia lab. So first of all, it's an invitation only, and I hereby would like to invite you because you're participating in our initiatives, because you're part of our network. Please feel free. We have a window open for the next 24 hours, the window of application submission called, right? In the back end, what we do with our jury and with our board of advisors, we filter all the applications, and if we find them that are the application are scientifically meaningful and potentially transformative, right? but all aligned towards innovation in food of the future and the reduction of greenhouse gas emission. We will be basically get in contact with you, eventually ask some questions, right? We have 5 spots left, and you see here the link, which is bit.ly/apply-academia-lab. I would like also to ask our team at ProteinX, one of our team members, to please share both links that I have mentioned. The one for the Q4 Career Fair, feel free to join that, or the one here to start getting in contact with us for the Academia Lab. And with that, I would like to thank
you, Tommaso. Thank you for sharing how we spend this entire guide saying that we are here to guide you, and now sharing actions that we do to guide everyone, not only in words, but in actions, and providing relationships, providing evidence of how you can have, what paths you want to go in the career of food scientist. The links that Tommaso mentioned during this presentation are all under alerts. So you see that you have check our website. So we have the link to our website where you can read in more detail what he explained at the beginning of his presentation. Also, you have the link to join the Q4 Career Fair and to apply to the Academia Lab. Everything is under alerts at the right side of your screen again.
And with that, I would like to thank you for your time. We know your time is the most rare units that we all have. I hope this was of value. This is our intention. And as a matter of fact, speaking of value, everything is a product, and every product lives from feedback. So if you have feedback, any constructive feedback, please, this is welcome. If you feel connected with what you do, what we do as a ProteinX Foundation to foster the innovation in alternative protein, sustainable packages, and new ingredients, such as, for instance, well, do you guys have any internship? Do you guys have any positions that I can collaborate, right? So feel free to reach out to us, and we are more than happy to walk you through opportunities also at the ProteinX Foundation.